Hey guys, Bill the Appraiser here with a new episode of All About Appraisals. Topic of the day is 5 random homes. Um, Long story, but I was kind of sending some text messages out earlier in the week to a few people I had sent appraisals to and hadn't heard from. These all happen to be private, non-lender appraisals. And so I had my list and I thought, wow, these are all kind of unique in their own little way. So maybe this could make for a pretty interesting video. Um, with some little special tidbits thrown in about each individual property, not giving away too much information, and that kind of thing. So, without further ado, the first one was a home where individual had bought it for approximately $400,000, and then promptly turned around and spent about $175,000 on additional upgrades and things, pool, outdoor kitchen, things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, although eventually, you work your way into an area that we call an over improvement, which kind of means more than anybody would ever do. I'm not necessarily saying this person did that, but when you buy a brand new home for about $400,000 and you turn right around and spend about 175 on additional things, chances are, and everybody knows, you don't get the money back that you spend dollar for dollar. You get, I won't say pennies on the dollar, but you get some incremental value back on what you spend. And of course, it all goes back to contributory value and market reaction. What we call contributory value and market reaction, how much does the buying public care about what you've done? So, in the situation of a pool, well, they probably don't care as much as someone put into the pool. They care half that, maybe a third, two-thirds, one-third, maybe. Um, but they don't care nearly as much as, whatever the person put into it, things like that. The home was amazing, everything else. I hope they get as much for it as they possibly can whenever they get ready to try to sell it. But, just kind of the word to the wise, be careful what you do as homeowners. Check around, ask appraisers, ask agents, ask your bank, ask whoever, or even nowadays, Google, right? And AI, am I going to get my money back? How much of my money back should I expect to get, on these things I'm thinking about doing in my home? So the second property where I need to send a text message out to somebody saying, hey, sent you the appraisal, I haven't heard from you. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. Of course, on occasion, it could be maybe somebody's not happy with the value. On occasion, it's because maybe they haven't seen it, that it went into their junk mail, went into their spam, trash, something. And so when I send them a text saying, hey, sent you the appraisal a few days ago, my response back, their response back is, oh, sorry, I didn't see it, still don't see it, can you send again? Or then when I point them to those areas, trash, spam, whatever, then they end up finding it and then we can chat about it. But no, this one was, I had actually done the property 10 years ago and they hadn't really done that much to it, but market appreciation over 10 years can drastically increase a property's value, especially one like this where it had acreage. And so, the homeowner and I, he didn't really remember that I'd been there 10 years ago. Um, just a little fun fact for the day, appraisers are required by most of their state boards to keep records for 5 years. Depending on who you talk to, some state boards might say, we don't care when, if we come back asking for a report, we don't care if it's 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, we want to see it. And so, strictly speaking, the word on the street, so to speak, is the appraiser has to keep files for 5 years. Some appraisers keep them longer just in case. Some appraisers purge every 5 years, but they might go through and do silly things like I do, like keep the sketch for the property so that in case it comes up again, you don't have to totally remeasure it necessarily, or you're just spot checking to double check. So I had done this about 10 years ago. And again, needless to say, values have gone up quite considerably since then. And so this individual, and I think he added a barn or something. So needless to say, his value is head and shoulders above what I'd appraised it for before. But interesting, again, a little tidbit I'm trying to come up with for each property here. As he and I were talking, he said something about the basement. And I'm thinking, man, I don't remember a basement on this property. And so then come to find out what he really meant was a crawl space. I think because he was from up north, where I guess maybe they don't have either. I'm not really sure. But to him, I guess given the amount of space he had under the home, that was almost equivalent to that of a basement. as opposed it was a pretty high crawl space, several feet, 4 or 5 feet. And so plenty of room to put stuff. So it was not like some crawl spaces where it's, foot and a half, and that's all you can do to crawl under there if you need to check HVAC or whatever. So anyway, interesting property, interesting gentleman, a very nice family. And so third one up is another one along those same lines where they'd bought it a couple of years ago, done some work to it, getting ready to sell now, and sort of a modest home, 1,500 square feet ish on a couple of acres, but they had done great work to it. And so I think, although it didn't play into my valuation, of course, I think the comment the homeowner made to me in passing was she just hoped she could double her money. So I didn't ask what she meant by that. As it turns out, if she meant double her money on what she paid for the property when she bought it, she was definitely going to be able to do that. If she meant double her money on the property after she bought it and added the improvements, didn't happen. But again, like I said earlier, you don't get it all back dollar for dollar. You get it back to some extent, depending on what you've done. They, on the other hand, had done good things. They had updated kitchens, updated bathrooms, etc. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to do this video is because I knew this property had a little bit of an anomaly in that apart from the primary bedroom, there was 2 other bedrooms. But there was only one doorway entrance to get to the other 2 bedrooms, which is a little bit of an anomaly because normally, of course, each bedroom has its own entrance. And so to have to go into one room to get to another bedroom, to get to another bedroom is a little bit unusual. We would probably call that functional obsolescence. Can that be cured? In this particular case, I think it probably could by adding an additional door, closing off the entry to the second bedroom from the first bedroom and just putting a entrance to the second bedroom in the hallway. Maybe that would clear that problem up. So, because let's face it, nobody wants somebody tramping through their bedroom because they have to go through their bedroom to get to another bedroom. That's not a whole lot of fun. The next one up is kind of a typical brick ranch, nice home, not really updated, probably built back in the 70s. We do a lot of private work, and this is kind of typical. Mama and daddy had passed away, and so they needed an appraisal on the home for probate purposes, as well as estimate of value to potentially think about getting the home listed for sale. None of the siblings wanted the home or the furnishings, as I recall, et cetera, et cetera. So we do this kind of thing a lot, and nothing spectacular about the home, good or bad. It was just fine. It just looked like 1980. I think it was 3 bed, 2 bath, something brick ranch kind of thing in a well-defined neighborhood. And so right away, their value is going to be defined by the sales in the sub, because there'd be no reason to leave the subdivision to find other sales, because there were plenty, and the vast majority of homes in that subdivision are probably brick ranch. So a couple of things this property did have going for it is they had a very nice kind of 3-season room, some people call, or a sunroom on the back of the house, which is really good. I think they had a mini split, and so you could just about get 4 seasons use out of it. And they also had a I think it was single car detached garage workshop in the backyard. And so again, very nice kind of thing that most any man would say, hey, I'd love to have that for my projects and tinkering and such. I don't think you would really use it as a garage. I think you'd use it mostly for projects and such. But still, kind of a neat thing, get credit for. No anomalies there, kind of like the previous house where, the appraiser would like to take off for this, that, and the other. This house just happened to be kind of average condition, average quality construction, but again, very nice. And the type of thing somebody would buy and then probably go in, I won't say gut, but they would go in and, as time allowed, update all the various areas that haven't been updated in a number of years. Last but not least was an interesting little house. And you see this sometimes where homes are exceptionally large for one floor. For example, if you have a 4,000 square foot home and it's a ranch, you don't see much of that. This one, on the other hand, was kind of the other direction. It was only about 1,000 square feet, but it was 2-story. And so again, you don't see much of that. Now, again, the whole concept of functional obsolescence, this house on the main floor, as you walk in, kind of a living area, eat-in kitchen, dining, and that's all there was. No bathroom of any sort, not even a half bath on the first floor. So any time you needed anyone who wanted to use a bathroom had to go to the second floor. Because on the second floor you had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The bathroom was located between the 2 bedrooms so that each party had equal, access to the bathroom. Anyone needs it in the middle of the night, etc. But that again goes back to what we would call functional obsolescence. You know, if maybe you work at home, well, unless you happen to work in your bedroom, you don't necessarily want to have to run downstairs, upstairs, whatever to get to a bathroom. So things like that are things that agents don't generally take into consideration, but appraisers have to, if for no other reason, because nowadays very often, I won't say every time, but more and more, especially with things like Kubicasa and other ways to measure homes kind of on the fly, so to speak, as opposed to old school with a tape measure and a laser. Appraisers still measure the home, but agents also do a measure with something like Kubicasa or something they call LiDAR. And lenders like that because that gives them a chance to see any potential functional obsolescence. If they see 2 or 3 bedrooms back to back to back, and it's very obvious from the layout and the floor plan that you have to go through one bedroom to get to another bedroom, that's a problem from a functional obsolescence standpoint, because that's not desirable. Most people don't want that. Same reason that you have lots of homes that have what we call a frog, right? Finished room over garage. Well, some frogs do have a bathroom, which makes it much, much better. A lot of frogs do not. And why is that a problem? Because nobody wants to be the guy in that bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you have to go to the bathroom, have to go all the way downstairs, find the bathroom, come back up, etc., etc. So anyway, just I came across this, thought it would be an interesting topic for a video, relatively short here. I probably could have talked really, really fast and worked this into a short, but I don't believe I'm going to try that version. But by all means, thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe if you found this at all beneficial and useful, and leave me some comments for upcoming videos, and I will see you there on the next video. Thanks much. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.